Yerushalmי Masechet Ma'aser Daf Yud Tesam Beis Nishmas Gita Bas Avoma Shchaim Beis Chadovige Shchaim Avam Yitzchak Yerushalmי. Today's my mother's Yotzai to Shalom. Just to say over a few words I said over last night, but I made a siyum. I said the following: I made a siyum on Masechet Psochim, famous Gemara, the Similoi Iklu the Pidyon Aben. The question of the Gemara is who makes the Shechionu? The Shechionu made by the Kohen, who receives the Chamesh Shkolim, was made by the Via Ben, who performs the mitzvah. Most of the Rishonim hold that the mitzvah of Pidyon Ben is on the father. The Kohen is the one that facilitates the Pidyon Ben. He makes the Pidyon, but the one who has the mitzvah of Pidyon Ben is on the father. So the question is who makes the bracha of Shechionu? That's for sure that the bracha on the Pidyon Ben is made by the father because he's doing the mitzvah. And the Gemara says, we don't know. We went to the Beis Medrash, and Beis Medrash, they paskined that the Shechionu is made by the Avia Ben. So what's the pshat here? What's that boy in the Gemara? What is the question? The Gemara, the Shechionu, what's the question? Why can't both of them make the Shechionu? The Gemara says that the Kohen has a reason to make the Shechionu. He's getting money. He's getting 5 sloim. The Avia Ben is the one that's performing the mitzvah. So one has the simcha shel mitzvah, one has the simcha of course getting money. So the question is who makes the shechionu? Why can't both of them make shechionu? So what's the problem? Both of them have reasons to make the shechionu. So I said like this, that shechionu is simcha. So I always said over for my father. My father used to say like this: in simcha there's 2 mitzvahs. There's Simcha, Idus Hashem b'Simcha. The do the avoid is Hashem b'Simcha. That's a very big thing. But the high madrega is Simcha Tzadikim Hashem. Is the Simcha alone is the avoid. Being b'Simcha is avoid. So I think I said this once before. But Simcha is based on Sheva. It says Tzadikim Anshe Ma'aser were dancing, and everybody was participating by observing the Tzadikim dancing. Why can't everybody dance? What's the big deal? You want to be understand the. Ashvera Rambam, Ashvera Gemara, Ashvera Zoya Kodesh. You have to be on a Baal Madrega. But to dance, turn on the music, and 99% of people they put on the music, they can dance. They give them good food, good mashke. Kind of dance. What's the big deal? Why does it say in Simchas Beis Hasheva, Shaloros Mishaloros Simchas Beis Hasheva, Shaloros Simcha Miyomov? But they were only looking. But most people were looking, and it's tzaddikim were dancing. So I said Pshat because this is the Simcha, the Agashal Simcha, which was very, very great. And not everybody got to that simcha, meaning because when everything goes exactly the way I want it, there's good music, there's good food, else it clapped, just do everything, you have everything you need and everything you're supposed to have, so then it's easy to dance. But chas v'sholem, there's no music, and the music is not playing, and everything is not going the way I want it, then to be b'simcha, to be able to dance, that's a much bigger madrega. That's only tzaddikim and shemaisa were able to perform that dag of simcha, and everybody else was observing how you get to that madrega. So I was thinking that this we said once over that the chonof shel mitzvah is bigger than the mitzvah. Don said it now. I saw also Alibed said it over in the name of Hasidim. So what's the chonof shel mitzvah? Chonof shel mitzvah is 2 things. There's the simcha of avodas Hashem, doing the mitzvah b'simcha, and before that is to be b'simcha, to be able to get to that madrega. The Rambam, we spoke to the Rambam in Hilchos Madah. The Rambam says that the Bnei HaNeviim, in order to become the Madrega HaNeviim, they had to become B'Simcha, so much so that they have instruments, they were playing instruments, so on and so forth. So, and one step before that is Ruach HaKodesh. So you see how great the mitzvah of Simcha is. So the Gemara is saying over here, who is the one that's qualified to be able to say the Shechionu? The Shechionu is made, we all know Shechionu is only made with the Simcha. Is the one that's doing the mitzvah, or is it the one that the mitzvah is performed through him, through the kohen, tutzachad Pidyon Ben, and he's getting the money. The Gemara says the maskana, the one who does the mitzvah, he is the one that's able to get to the madrega of simcha, which is be able to say the shechionu. So my mother had a nature, 2 things about it that were very outstanding. One is that she was very makpid on mishpacha. Mishpacha, my father used to say, the Targum makes a mishpacha oizim. What is mishpacha? Mishpacha means one helps each other. This is touch mishpacha. Oizim, help the einem fight. That's the mishpacha. You don't help each other, That's not Shkim Mishpocha. And the second thing she was makbid, she was always makbid on that should be always besimcha taka. Besimcha, everything that even though they went through Gehenna, it's not to be described what they went through. She was in the concentration camp with three of her sisters. So you can't. My father used to say he wasn't in a concentration camp, so they used to fight amongst each other who had it worse, because he was always, one step ahead of the Malach HaMavos, and they were constantly, they're trying to catch them, and so. But that's separate. But upon the idea was that they were able to come out of it and survive. Not everybody made it, but those who made it out and still have the simcha, sachaim that they had was tremendous. And they said anybody who didn't have it wouldn't survive. That's what you need to be able to survive. So her neshama should be on leave for everybody, and we should be able to continue on these ways from that generation. That was the generation here. What they always say, they said that tzaddikim gezuk that can't come to America. And what tzaddikim that said that? So my father said, why? Because there's no toilet, there's nothing here. You can't survive. Judaism can't survive in America. So my father used to say, he said he heard the bells of Rebbe in Budapest. He heard the last drush that he gave before he left Budapest, and he said, "It's it wasn't good." The bells of Rebbe was a tzaddik mafusim. How could it be? So he said that when the Eibishter Chalila V'chas goes and excites on people and on the Klal Yisrael, he turns off the lights even for tzaddikim. They don't see. You can't see. That's part of the excited. So we can't see. But Akaponim, the Eibishter is ibigdeit, and we see what's going on today. Torah is blossoming. Yiddishkeit is getting stronger and stronger. And Achshir the Mamsh Achshir the Eibishter the help, and we should all be zeichel. We made it to see the Yerushalmי. Okay, the Rabbi said, this, going back a minute here, to this Gemara here we spoke about yesterday, the Boilu in the Gemara is the pula, the schar pula that the Poil gets, that he's able to eat from the Balabayas. Is it Mishamayim Kozochaloi, or is it Me'atzmai? Rashi explains that it's a Tesefis in the Schiras. When the Balabais gives the schiras to the poil, he says, listen, I'm giving you schiras, and I'm also going to give you for the food. That's part of the schiras. It's a monetary obligation, part of the contract. It's a choshen mishmedigidim. Mashen came mishamayim kazakalo. Then Rashi says it gets it in like trumas amaisis and matasaniyim. So it's very interesting that Rambam, when he brings the halachas of schiras pe'alim, he brings it in two places. He brings it in Hilchos Schiras, in Pei Gud Beis. He describes all the dinim of Hilchos Schiras. And he says that the poil comes and he takes it from the Balabais, that's the din. And then also in Hilchos Ma'aser, in Perik Hey, bring the Euchid, the halachas from Schiras. Why is he bringing it in two places? And the Rambam Paskins is Mishamayim Kazochalei. So what's the pshat? Why is he bringing it in two places? So I don't know exactly what to say about that, but it's unusual for the Rambam. Sometimes he does it, but only in a reference, but not in such a great detail. In both places, the Rambam should say, sign Hilchos Schiras. So if I wouldn't understand that the Rambam is holding that it's min hashemayim kazochalei, I would say there could be the two dinim taka. Maybe there's both of them. Side the din of Hilchos Choshen Mishpat, inside the halacha of the shemayim kazochalei. Maybe it has both halachas. That'd be one way to understand this Rambam. But most of the Mefarshim are saying the Rambam that the Rambam holds mishemayim kazochalei. So if it's mishemayim kazochalei, then why is he bringing Hilchos Schiras? Hilchos Schiras is not Mishamayim Kazochalei. Hilchos Schiras is the dinim that the poil, the Balabais is giving it to the poil. It's a Tesefis in the Schiras. Okay, this is one Zach. The second Zach is this we spoke about yesterday is in Perik Hey Halacha Tes. Zuk the Rambam this is Mamish Gemara. Soiche is a poyalim la'asasim beperis bein betlushim bein bechuborim. Hoy v'yesh lehem lechel min ha'toyre. The Mishnah says that Ze'aklal, where's that? Yerushalmי, I think. The Mishnah says Ze'aklal. That's Minat Torah. If you don't eat Minat Torah, it's Potem in a Ma'aser. Why you Potem in a Ma'aser? So we learn Pshat, the Mefarshim say, because not Nigma Menachta. So it's Oichel Minat Torah. It's not Nigma Menachta. Oichel Minat Torah. The poil is allowed to eat from the Balabais, the food that he's doing, only when it's not Nigma. Once it's Nigma, then not. So Oichel Minat Torah, because it's not Nigma, that's why it's Potem in a Ma'aser. This goes in the Amanaz. The Mishnah states two things. Says the poil has the rights to eat the pears. And then the Mishnah also says almanas. So the answer the Gemara is busy with almanas. What does it mean almanas? What do you need almanas for? The Torah was mezakah Jew, so that l'chayr gets the din of mekach. It's not mekach. So he tells me that it's chayiv b'maisa because not mekach. That's the chiddush in the Mishnah. Boyle is eating minat Torah. The Torah gave him the rights to eat. That's not mekach. It's stated in the Mishnah. So why does the Mishnah have to say almanas? So we said that afal piken. That's the pshat in the Gemara. More reflect the kasha and Yud Zayin and Beis. What's the afal piken? So Gemara says the chiddush is that even though he said almanas, it's also not considered a mekach. Why? Because the almanas doesn't really add anything because you're already eating it minat Torah. You're eating minat Torah because the pasuk says you have to give him to eat. So it's nishka mekach. You said almanas, mit almanas vet nishka mekach. And I would think that almanas is a mekach now that it belongs to the poil. Kamash malon as nish. That's one way to understand the Gemara. But the Rambam here says in this Rambam in Perik Hey Locha Tes at the end he says like this: Im hisni imoim sheyochlu ma'ashloi zichsel lehem Torah. So he's learning here. Listen to the words. The Mishnah Yilam Shad Almanas. He says it tonight that he wants to eat the pears, that he's entitled to eat it, but he wants this part of the condition of the employment agreement. That's what he means Almanas. So Kamash Malon, that's not considered a mekach because the Torah already gave it to you. But in the words of the Rambam, it's a little different. He says Im hisni moim shi yoichlu. What does he make it tonight? They're eating it anyway without his tonight. So the Rambam ma'ashloi zichsel lehem Torah. Kegoin, shehisna apoy sheyochlu b'noi imoy or sheyochlu b'noi b'schoroi or sheyochlu acher gemam maloche b'tolish. That's what he's saying is the time. If he made such a tonight, now he doesn't say beferish that this is going on in the Mishnah, but we know that the Rambam doesn't usually say things that are not found in the Mishnah or in the Gemara or Safri, Safra. But so I don't know if this is, he's pointing to the Mishnah or not, but he's saying here that if he made it tonight. And the Ram doesn't bring the halacha in the Mishnah that says tonight, except over here. And here he says beferish that he made it tonight that they should eat something which lo zichs lehem Torah. For instance, that he wants to give it to his kids, to his children, and that the Torah doesn't give him a right to do. Or shiach ben b'schoire, shiach achim malachta, or they should be able to eat after the malacha betolish. Hareze ose lecha achiyasa. Then it's taka called the mekach. Hoy v'oichem mipnei hatanai sheloi. That Bible says over the kech, and that's a levi ma'aser. So Mela, you see what Rambam is learning that the Tanai, the Chayda means that here we're talking where he doesn't have this the din that he's allowed to eat the pears. So comes again though the there's the kasha here. 1 second. Mishnah the effect Fakash. He's saying over here, why is he saying that if the Gemara says over here, the Oichim min Torah, anybody, the Mishnah says that Kol Oichim min Torah is Potem min Ma'aser. What says min Torah? Yes, the Gemara we saw yesterday. Lo tzricha, New Testament based. Lo tzricha, Oichim min Torah yichayiv. The Gemara is asking the Kasha, Oichim min Torah yichayiv. Meaning what? Look the Pnei Moshe. New Testament based by the end of the narrow lines in the Pnei Moshe. Amasnisin koy mahada. The Tony oichel min ha'Torah poter. Somebody eats min ha'Torah is poter for ma'aser because not keveya. Uparach da'adrabah lo yitzricha elu sheyei chay b'ma'aser. Forget. It should be chay b'ma'aser. Why? The fact that he's eating the pears should be a reason that he should be chayv b'ma'aser. The mekivin the achilasa min ha'Torah, because the fact that he's able to eat is have a kviyas l'ma'aser. The Torah is giving him to eat. That alone, that the Torah allows him to eat, trade the Gemara, that should be chayv b'ma'aser. Those was a kenessen. Rabbi Yoina ha'Torah poter oisa. Look, Rabbi Yoina, no, the Torah is battering him from the ma'aser. Where do we see that the Torah is battering him? The loyi lefi ha'Torah zichsel lechol. And the Torah gives you a patur. Now, where does it say that the Torah gave me a patur? It doesn't say it in the Mishnah, but if you look in the Gemara here in Bava Metzia, Gemara is here. The Gemara learns out from Nafshecha. The Gemara tells the Beis and Aleph. Excuse me. It goes on this. Ma mishloi oichel or mishemayim oichel. Ma sava kenafshecha bedover shemoise nafshei olav. Uma sava kenafshecha. Which said in the pasuk. The pasuk reads, "Kisava became riyacha." Anavim kinafshecha sevecha. What does it mean kinafshecha sevecha? What does the word kinafshecha mean? Rashi the Gemara, b'dover shemoise nafsholov, u'ma'asav kinafshecha ma nafshecha. Imchasamta pota af poil imchasamta pota. So the Gemara says you learn out the nafshecha but the poil, but the nafshecha with the balabais. Mukdazay the balabais is pota for the ma'aser. He doesn't have to give ma'aser. So who didn't have me the poil? The Gemara is learning it out from this pasuk. V'lo yamin look at Rashi and this Rashi and Peizayin and Beis. Rashi touches this Gemara. He says v'lo yamin and hoyel de be'agrei ochel. He's eating it, the pears. Why is he eating the pears? He's eating it because he's working for the Baal Bayis. That's part of his chidus. I would think that it's part of his chidus that he's allowed to eat during mealtime. Al kolcha shel Baal Bayis, and he's eating even the Baal Bayis doesn't want to give it to him. The Torah is mechayiv him. Habalei kemekach. So that's all of a sudden a mekah. That's a transaction. Umekach kavas lemaisa. And a mekah we know is kavas lemaisa. Av dovus shloi nigma melachtai. Even if it's not nigma melachtai, it's also kavas lemaisa. Even the zavnei achshevei. Even the zavnei achshevei. This that he made a mekah, and it becomes a mekah. The Torah says you have to give it to the boil. Does bleibt a mekah. If this bleibt a mekah, so that'll be a mechayiv. So I have a pasuk that tells me kenafshecha. And nafshecha is telling me the Baal Bayis is potter. Why is the Baal Bayis potter? Because loy nigma melachtai. Who had din that the poil is potter because nafshecha be nafshecha. So the shverikite is, but this Gemara is very strongly appears to be that it's a deraisa. The deraisa is that the chayyid should be mechuyev to eat. Kamash malon that the Baal Bayis doesn't eat. It's not the kaveya. Why? Because it's not menachtai, and the poil, even though by the poil it's called the kaviyas, and it should be mechayvim to eat the ma'aser, but he has to take off the ma'aser. He can't eat the derech harei. Kamashon kanavshecha that he's potter just like the Baal Bayis is potter. Who had in the poil is potter. Yeah, mamash alimid akro. So it looks like this achila is kavas min ha'torah. That's not midrabanan. That's what Mashiach in the Gemara. This is what we spoke about yesterday. I don't want to say it's ganze zach is only in a smachta. But it can say that it could be that there's two dinim taka. There's one din is taka that he gets out. What does he have the reason he's allowed to eat? Because it's part of the schidus. That's true. The truth is that when the buyer hires a worker, he knows that he has to give him to eat. So he includes that in the calculations of the schidus. He's including that he has to give him to eat. That doesn't go away because he knows that's the din Torah. So that he has to give him min Torah. So it could be that this din that we say that the mekach is only with the rabbanon, it's only the rabbanon, the mekach, that's only if you have a mekach which goes one person to another. But if it's mishamayim kazachalu, azami mekach, with the Torah says you have to get, that could be takas kaveh takas b'deraisa. And that's why we need the pasuk in Avshecha to tell me that you put here, and he doesn't have to give to the meister, because normally I would think over here that it's achshevei, because the Torah says you have to give it to him. There's no more kviz than such a thing that the Torah says you have to give him to eat. If you have to give him to eat, and therefore it would be a kviz for meister. So in this case it would be takaderaisa. This could be that's the pshat in the word. And if that's true, then it could be that's why the Rambam brings it in two places, because it's taka din, also the din from taka that he has a din that mishamayim kazachalo, that the Torah gave it to mishamayim and it has a din of trumas and maises. Besides that, it doesn't, the chosh mishpat is never lost, because when a person hires a worker, he knows that he has to give him to eat, and he's doing that, so he's calculating then whatever the price of the wages are that he should be able to make his profit. This goes into the calculation. So you have could be taka both dinim, and that's why the Rambam taka brings it in both places. Okay, let me learn the Gemara. Rabbi said, look the Gemara. Tamon teninon. This is the white lines on New Testament base. Tamon teninon. This is the Chamishna. Hoy ois beteinim leyochel banov. If his work was beteinim with figs, you can't eat grapes. In other words, you have to eat from the same thing that you're working in. Banovim leyochel beteinim. Vice versa. Betona alo hoy ois beyichur ze leyochel beyichur acher. Who's working on this branch? He has to eat from that branch, not only from the same payers, but from the same branch. Betaninon. Kulusin is more inferior pairs. He can't eat and the better pairs. He has to eat from the same quality pairs. And he can't go the other way either. He can't say I'm working the B'nai Sheva, which is the better ones, and he's going to eat from the worst ones. He can't do that either. So you see here why? Because if it's if it would be midday that he gets this schia, it's his own schia, so he's the balabos. He wants to eat from the worst ones. The balabais doesn't care. He's happy that he eats from the worst ones. Elamai, he's not the balabais. The mishamayim kozochaloi. You can't be minaptur al chiyah, minayoshin al chodesh. All of these dinim on negayah. That's what the Torah says. You can't change it. So that's why it says here b'nai sheva liyechel b'kulusin. L'chein tzricha afilu shteim b'yicha echad. If they're both of them in one yicha, you can't change the quality from one quality to another. So it has to be a certain min, it has to be on the same branch, and it also has to be from the same quality. Siv shaitan pasuk kisavoi. This shaitan pasuk now. They was asking a question on the pasuk. Kisavoi bekerem reyacha. When you're going to come into the vineyard of your friend. So the pasuk continues. V'chalta anav mekanashros. So now the Gemara is asking, if you come into a vineyard, what else are you going to eat besides the nav? V'chalta, you're going to eat the grapes. What else is it there? There's nothing else to eat in the vineyard. That's what happens. The grapes are growing there. Zuk the Gemara like this. Siv kisav became riyacha yochel b'shar kol adam akosem medaber. Not only is it min shemayim kazachuloi, it's not only that it's his because he's working, he's getting the schar. The Gemara has a half minute to say that the pasuk means everybody's allowed to come in and eat. It looks bizarre, right? What do you mean? You're not the worker? No. Just like Lekha Shikrapeya, who's entitled to Lekha Shikrapeya? Anybody, any oni, he comes and he sees the Lekha Shikrapeya, he can take it. It doesn't have to be somebody who's working in the field. The same thing here. Why not? It's Lekha Shikrapeya. So it doesn't have to be that he's particularly the worker for this field. What is he? What qualifies him? So I don't know. They want to say here that he's matnasanim. Rashi says of him, Shumayim Kazochel, Dr. Rashi and Bometzia on Tzadik Beis, there's matnasanim. What do you mean matnasanim? Ma'ichet is that the poils are noni. Could be the poils even richer than the balabayas. It's many times so. The balabayas has chayvus. He may be bankrupt, but he's the balabayas. And the worker there has no chayvus of him cup. He's richer than the guy. Who said? We know that the poil has to be an oni. But that's how Rashi learns. If you hold Mishaloi, so here the Gemara says, Kisavi became Reacha Yoch b'shar kol ha'od ma'kosim medaber. Maybe the pasuk is talking about everybody, not only the poil. Talmud loime ve'kel yicha lo yisiten. You're allowed to eat from these pays that you're working on, but you can't store it into your kelim. Abenoisen hu lekelim shel chavecha ve'ezeh zeh poil. So it says over here, this means it has to be the poil. That's the Moradasha. It means the poil. How do we see that in the pasuk? Zog the Pnei Moshe. B'tonei alo, the second white line. In this branch, he's working. He can't take pairs from a different branch, only in the branch where he's working. But teninon, in other words, when he wants to eat, he takes from the pairs where he's working. That's the inferior ones. The Tanelo, the mean name of the Tana the Maslisin, the don't like to be like Tana the Braisa. Kasakadai the Velosin, Ubno Sheba, Mistamel, Labiuchedech, and Gedalim. Because you want to have a half minute to say that inferior and more qualified, more expensive one, they don't grow in the same branch. So if you tell me it has to be in the same branch, why do you have to tell me this halacha? They're two different branches anyway. Typically, the you can't go from one branch to another one. Loy kain sicha, kloima. The Mashan loy the mislay the Tana Don, the high the Tana Bebaisa. Well, loy sicha, the chain afil b'shtei miyichin echadan. Even though you have inferior and superior in the same branch, the pom mishkachas lo ab b'yichin echad gedein l'royes v'yofus. Sometimes you have superior ones and inferior in the same place. Kamash v'lon afil kain hay b'shtei minimem moise b'zeh l'yochel b'nacha. You can't switch the minim even in the same branch. How do you know that somebody who's not working in this field has no rights to come and take food from here? The mashma the kelim shel chavercha. You're allowed to put it into the kelim of somebody else. As it says, the kelim shel belabayis. Okay, what's meant? Zokte menafulda. Doesn't explain 100%. He says like this menafulda. Tamon Teninan, on the left side in the middle, right by the narrow lines of Aseichas, Apayalim, Yichud Anaf, that's the branch. What do you have to have these two halachas? Side of what, inferior to inferior, and the same different branches. So Yichud L'kach on a Mishnah, you say that, Loime, I feel like you'll be Visin, Leveinim, Ubenoi Sheba, Bichir Echad, how do you have these two inferior and superior in the same Anaf, in the same branch? How's that possible? So it's like the Bnei Moshe, you know what happened? He grafted it. And you grafted the two trees. One was better and one was worse. So that's what you have in the same branch. You have two different qualities. Okay, let's do the Rasila. Look at the Rasila on the left side. The Torah says on the worker, he's potter from giving the Trumas and Maises, and you can eat afila arai. V'zichsa like a balakarka, and he's mezake to the poil. Where does he know this from? Mi kanafshcha. He learned from a posik. Kanafshcha. What does it mean kanafshcha? Stam ukudliel. So he has a din like the balabai. Punktu like the balabai is potter from Trumas and Maises because it's not yet finished. It's not nigma. Who adin the poil is mutter to eat it. Without, it's not called a kviz because you learn how to gnafshecha. It's like a hekish. But turn up this after. You can't take it from one to another, one branch to another branch. Even with the same min, same species, you have to stay in the same branch where you're working. Why does it say teinim v'anovim? Mishum the achin afla mikra could you say the command? He ain't only yodim shem bekerem leechel el anovim. Why does the Torah have to tell you? Some bekerem. Why are you coming to eat grapes? What else are you doing in the vineyard? The matam eloy v'chalta anovim. So here he says already, this is exactly the Rabbanon from one branch to another. In Cain, am I tan l'bsusin b'nei Sheva? Do loydina deraisa v'loydina derabbanon. The stomach tremininu mishnei elonisem. That's the way I don't understand it. He's saying that din of inferior and superior qualities, that's only the Rabbanon. That's not min hashem mina. That's not considered separate min. So the Rabbanon goes like that. And this din here, b'nei Sheva, the loy dina deraisa v'loy dina derabbanon. The stomach tremininu mishnei elonisem. So what then is it? So shteihem yichud echad. Now let's say if you had it in one branch. How do you have inferior and superior in the same branch? The two different species come out. That's why you can't eat from one that you're not working. It's a different min. So it's talking like the Mafula says, he grafted it. Why? Why the Chacham goes? It's in nechad. So if it's in nechad, what do I care? One is better quality, one is worse quality. It's in nechad. He's saying the reason is because the Zayda Rabbanah, you shouldn't come to eat from two different trees, and that for sure you can't do. When the poil is eating, he has to eat. He can only eat from the tree that he's working, not a different tree. If you can allow him to eat different minim in the same tree, different qualities, that's going to become to make him trip up. And to go eat in two trees also. See, what's the nafka? This is growing here, this is growing there, this is better, this is worse. What's the difference in two trees? No, it has to be from the same tree. That's the example that Rabbanon looked at. The Kal Yicho Shechabecho, the Lichte Kra Ve'el Kli Lo Yisitain. Why do you say Kal Yicho? It should say, if we're talking about anybody who's allowed to come in and eat,